hold on. Let me. No, I can't. Okay, good. So, okay, so let me start the poll here. And so the first question is, and thanks, Fran, if you can help out. So the first question is, what are the odds of you being born? Is it one in a million, one in a billion, one in 10 billion, one in 1 trillion, or one in 400 trillion? Please vote. Can you all see that?
So
Mhm.
are we gonna give the answers before I do my presentation? Because I actually have
Yes,
these questions embedded into the presentation, which I'm fine.
well, I mean, for this poll,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
you'll have the answers in like 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
Okay? It's going to cost you, but yeah, you get them. Okay, so Mark, what are you doing for the holidays?
Well, my wife and I are actually leaving and driving to Sharpsburg, Georgia to spend time with my in-laws. Her dad's got Alzheimer's. We actually lived with them for a year. My wife lived with them for a year to be a caretaker, but it was so overwhelming. I was going back from Baton Rouge to Atlanta basically,
Sure.
and it was so overwhelming. Her health was in jeopardy. So we're actually back in Baton Rouge. Now they have two full-time caregivers, but we go up there perhaps once every couple months just to see how they're doing.
Wow. Well, that sounds good. So how long a drive is that?
500 miles.
Wow. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll shut up. Okay.
I did that once a month for, no, twice a month for, well, once a month back and forth, 500 miles for 18 months. It wasn't fun. The only thing
Wow.
that kept me going was my dog, and I'll talk a little bit about my dog when we go forward too.
Okay, good. Yeah, we want to hear about the dog. Okay. Okay, so let me end the poll. Let me share the results. And Fran, if you can take a snapshot, that'd be great. So you can see from the votes here, the winner is one in a trillion, followed by one in 10 billion, followed by one in a billion, and then of course tied with one in 400 trillion. So Mark's going to share his answer in a little while. Okay, so let me pull up a second one here. And why is my mouse timing out here? Hold on. So, okay. Yep. Okay. So you saw that. Okay. So let me go back and let me go to number two here. Okay. So what of the following is the greatest disease in America? Is it heart, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, or stress? I mean, based on my day, I know it's stress, but only because of what's been going on in my day today. But please vote. So these are good questions, Mark. Are these typical questions that you use in your
I
talks?
do now. Yeah, I didn't do this when I originally did it, other than the first question. But
Okay.
I do these now when I do presentations like this. I have a big one coming up in New Orleans for Ecolab, coming up in January.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for voting, everybody. Let me end the poll and let me share the results. And Fran, again, if you can take a quick snapshot, I'd appreciate that.
you got it.
And thanks. And then you can see that heart and stress are tied as number one, followed by cancer and high blood pressure, and diabetes being last. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Mark, we'll get you copies of all of these too if you want.
That'd be great.
Okay, sure. Okay. And then last one is here we go. Which of the following most leads to better health? Being religious, volunteering, kindness, social interaction, gratitude, or all the above? Please vote. Yeah, this is almost an obvious question, Mark. Is this a trick question, actually, Mark?
It could be. It could be.
We'll find out in a minute, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
By the
Just
way, I didn't vote on this.
oh, okay. Okay, well there you go. Well, you got plenty.
Excuse number.
Okay, let me finish this out. So anybody needs to vote one more time, please do that, and then we'll finish out. Okay, well, thanks. So let me end the poll and let me share the results. And overwhelmingly, it's all of the above, followed by social interaction and gratitude. Okay, so thanks everybody for helping out and participating. So a big thank you to Gary Sorrentino, our global CIO of Zoom, who was on last week. He had a fascinating, if you haven't seen it, and if you're a member, you need to log on and watch this video or listen to it almost in podcast mode as you're driving. It was excellent. This was all about how do we work in a multi-generational environment. He gave us stats on what percentages the of the workforce is the baby boomers, the Gen Zs, the Gen Xs, and how we work to one another because the styles are very different amongst all of us, and how do we adapt? And actually, he kind of finally ended with a quick poll towards the end about who has a reverse mentor. So he talked all about too. That was fascinating. So anyway, so again, replay is available, of course, to all of our members. So quick famous quote. Tell me, does anybody know this one? Hey, Chuck, are you on this call today? Okay. We don't like their sound, and the guitar music is on the way out. Does anybody know who this was or who they were talking about?
The Beatles.
Yeah, who said that? Gary? Oh, Larry. Hey, Larry, thanks. Yeah, so that was Decca Recording Company who declined to sign the Beatles in 1962. Okay. And so, of course, but someone forgot to tell Chuck Vondra that. So he's our Siptones guitarist, and therefore, yeah, he's a guitarist maniac. So we're taking a holiday break after this week. We will not have fireside chats on Christmas Day or New Year's Day for some reason. Maybe it's because they're holidays, but we will be back on January 8th and looking forward to the new year with everybody. So wishing everyone a Merry Christmas, a joyous holiday season, of course, a Happy New Year for 2025. And we're looking forward to being together again, in the new year. So again, this week we're going to have Mark on, with his talk and looking forward to it. So Dave, over to you.
Well, Merry Christmas, and I hope everyone has a very prosperous and healthy new year. And with that, if you're a SCTC member on the Fireside Chat or you're visiting as a guest, we'd love to have you as a member. And also, just think about all the cool things that you will get access to, such as future fireside chats for members only, etc. But
Yeah.
also, I'd like to put the word out to all of our VAC members that we are still looking for a few committee members for 2025. And if that's something you're interested in, please reach out to myself, Nancy Gates, Beth Kirschenberg, or Ben Treadway. We will all try to help you get on board and would love to have you participate as a VAC committee member. And again, wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thank you all for your friendship, your camaraderie, and most importantly, working together. Thanks. Back over to you, Steve.
Thanks, Dave. So, Mike, I think had some small emergency. He is not on today, so I will skip Mike's. And Denise would normally be pitching in, but Denise just had a grandchild this morning, so she sent me a whole bunch of pictures. So, I have to respond to her, but I've been driving. So let me, Mark, do you want to share your screen? Is that all right? I'm going to stop
Sure.
my share. Okay. So let me stop the share and looking forward to hearing your talk again, Mark.
Okay, let me go to my PowerPoint share. Can you all see this?
Yes.
Okay, let me start from the beginning. Slideshow. Okay. Uh-oh. I don't see anything. Oh, there it is. All right, so y'all can see this?
Yeah, but we see crosses, so you have to put it in presentation mode. We're actually seeing your computer screen, meaning
Uh,
with the pre on the next slide.
so I don't, what are you talking about?
So if you go to the bottom, okay, you'll see the yeah, you'll see the four icons on the bottom just before the bar on the right. Bottom
Uh,
right. No, way to the bottom. Way bottom. No,
what?
bottom. No. Of the screen itself. Go to the bottom of the screen. You'll see some icons
Okay,
on the bottom right. There you go. So the last one over that looks like a little screen. Not that one. The next one over. The next
this
one to
one.
the right. To the right. That. Try.
Slideshow?
Yep. Try that. Uh-huh.
I hadn't
No,
done this.
no,
Is
that
that
doesn't.
better?
No, that doesn't work. Okay, hold on. No, go back. Exit.
Tell you what, do you want me to
Just
just go from here and let's see.
no. I've got it. Just go back. Sorry, this will only take 1 second. Go do the one. Hit the icon just to the left of that.
This one?
No, to the left. That
This
one. Yep.
one.
Yep. Go ahead. That'll work. Yeah.
You
So, oh,
good?
sorry. So you're sharing your screen. So you know what? You've got these, you don't see them, but you've got a column of users. So that shows
Yeah.
up as blocks on the screen. So you have to minimize that. Either that or I can share your screen.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, if you can minimize it even more, if you can, just to the, yeah, that little button. Yeah, and that should be good. Yep, go ahead. That should
All
work.
right. So, sorry about that. Thanks for bearing with me. Um, I I'm going to ask a lot of questions. It's going to be very interactive, so I'm just going to go through this really quickly. I don't know how many people saw this presentation before in New Orleans, but I'm just going to go through it going forward. So it's not actually going to the next screen.
It's not, oh, you just got to hit the down button. Yeah, on your, hit the down cursor on your keyboard.
Yeah, I did. Hold on.
Okay.
There it goes. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
So, really, my whole objective here is to kind of have you be aware of how you think and feel and act. And the reason for me doing this is because I want to help you lead to a better and more rewarding life, both personally and professionally. So everything what I'm doing today is going to be based on what I think you guys and gals can do and how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And some of this is going to pertain to the questions that Steve actually asked. So when I started to give a damn, so to speak, there were two things that came to mind. One is I get this question, why and how and what is the reason why you wrote a book? And if I told you 10 years ago that I was going to write a book, I would have said, you're absolutely crazy. I don't like to write to begin with. I'm not an English major. I don't think I write very well. My wife will tell you I don't write very well. But things were happening in an environment that was very disturbing to me. And I found out all these things, and I decided that I would take a dictaphone and I would record everything that I observed. And what I observed was just disturbing. And the second thing that it made me realize after I actually finished this book, because I had all this typewritten text and it's 60 pages, and I said, well, I got to organize this based on what I saw, and I need to put it down on paper and see what I could do to help with the culture that I thought was deteriorating. But at the end of the day, what I realized was I wasn't really that give a damn person. I thought I was, but I was doing some things that weren't actually appropriate, not negative, but I could be a better person than I was. So what I came to, I saw these images. And if you look at this image, you'll get an idea of why my thinking and why I came out with the writing of this book. And you can see this image, you can see this image, and you take a look at this and you go like, why did that actually happen? But what really set me over the edge was what I came to view. And I saw this, it was actually happened in Hartford, Connecticut. I saw a man coming out of a grocery convenience store. He had just purchased milk and eggs, and he was walking across the street. And these cars were coming up. He wasn't paying attention, and this car hit him, and he flipped over this car, and the car stopped. And here he is lying in the middle of the street. When the car stopped, the car backed up, went around the guy. The next car came up, went around. I said, why isn't anybody helping this person? This lasted for about a minute and a half, and then finally people came to his attention. So I was like, why did you, as humans, we should helping these people automatically. And then there was another video about this dog. And there was two dogs. One was trying to cross the street, and he actually got hit by a car. It was a fast 4-lane highway. And this other dog, again, this is on video, other dog dodged cars, picked up that dog, and put him in the median. What struck me that really irritated me is that eventually, over 6 months, due to the old man's injuries, he died, but the dog lived. And as humans, we should be smarter than dog, but this dog had this innate ability to have and help a dog of its own kind live. So I got fed up. I saw these similar instances every day. It was happening globally. People not admitting when they were wrong, people winning at all costs, and it became very dangerous. I'm going to talk about a little story about what happened. People refusing to take responsibilities, having self-centered attitudes, and we've become such an ego-driven society, and it's degraded the society because we don't look at individuals like we used to do and try to care for them. And all I could see was excuses, excuses, and people justifying what they were doing and offering an excuse for doing that. So how I came up with a bunch of reasons why this evolved, and there's 9 areas I'm going to go over what caused a degradation in society. Because 50 years ago, we had duties and responsibilities. Now people think they have rights and privileges, and these are the factors that are influencing it. There's 9 factors, and you can read them here on the screen. Family values, wealth, technology, that's highlighted in green and bold because it's been a huge detriment in terms of cultural and how we act towards people, education, religion, media. You see all these different groups, and I'm going to go through each one of them. First is the government. And what really I saw in government, that it breeds entitlement. Government channels dollars into handouts. What's really important that there's no endpoint. So I am all about the government helping people. I'm all about them trying to educate people, trying to get back on their feet. So as a government entity, if I was a council person, I would say, look, I want to help you. We're going to educate you. We're going to send you to this community college or whatever it may be. We're going to educate you. We're going to help you find a job. And then you're on your own. When I say there's no end point, you can only lead people down to water and drink it. But if they're not going to decide to drink it, you can't help them anymore. And so there's got to be an end point. I don't know if anybody have seen the show, My 600-Pound Life. It's a show on TV, which is kind of amazing. What I thought was there's people that are supporting these people, but they keep giving over and over. They keep giving this person food over and over, and they're not helping to that person. So they're contributing to their detriment. And that's what I think government does, but there's got to be an endpoint. So when I'm in the audience, I'll ask everybody, like, I'll go up to you, and Steve, you remember this when I was in the audience. I asked somebody if they were Democrat or Republican. I told them not to answer it. And because I told them not to answer it is because as soon as someone says, I'm a Democrat or a Republican, they're immediately put in a box, and they can't think outside that box.
Right.
So you immediately label them as an individual. And we've got so polarized to that point that we're labeling people, whether Democrat or individual or a Republican. Now, independent's a little bit more moderate, so you can't really label somebody or put them in a box because of that. So this is important that we become so, when they go on TV and there's a government employee, they always have a letter by their name. And so I hate that because now people can't think independently. So if they're a Democrat, okay, well, they think that way. And that's how polarized we become as an organization, the government. The bottom line is heads I win, tails you lose. There's no camaraderie. When there's a 50-50 votes, you got to tell me that 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans in the Senate. And you have to tell me that 50 of those Democrats all vote one way and 50 Republicans all vote the same way. Well, you can't tell me that some people are thinking, well, maybe this is the way it should be done, and it would go to the Democrat side or the Republican side. But the problem is they can't vote that way because then they get ostracized. And that's the big problem. You can't be independent. I love this quote. Let's not seek the Republican or Democrat answer, but the right answer. Let's not seek to fix the blame for the past. Let's accept our responsibility for the future and work together. And there's give and take in all sides when that happens. So I've come up with a comprehensive list of everything you're entitled to in this world. Can anybody tell me, and I want this to kind of be interactive. I can't see you right now because I've memorized it. Can anybody tell me what you're entitled to this world? What are you entitled to when you come into this world? And I've put together a whole list of this. You got any feedback? Anybody want to tell me?
Well, our birth, right? If that's not really an entitlement either in that sense, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. Entitlement. That's an
I'll take a
interesting.
chance on that, Steve. Roberta here.
Yeah, Roberta, go.
I would say I'm entitled to take my gifts and abilities that I'm born with and to contribute and have to have a life, like to be alive, but it's my responsibility to make that happen.
Well, Right. So what you're telling me is it's your responsibility to receive what you get. But what are you entitled to overall?
Well, I'm Canadian. I would say, and I'm a female in tech. I would just say I'm entitled to be valued and recognized for what I do, disregarding who I am and what gender and what race and whatever. Just give me a chance.
But you're not entitled to a job. You're not entitled to
No, I
food.
didn't say that.
Yeah,
No, I didn't
right.
say that.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
what you're doing is you're spinning this around. So here's my list. I'm going to give you my list.
Okay. I guess I'm entitled to a chance. One word. I'm entitled to a chance.
Hey, Mark,
Correct. But you make that chance.
Mark, this is Bill. I'm saying the only thing we're entitled to is the breath that we woke up in the morning that we are giving back to the community.
Right, right.
That's what we are there for. At the end
Right.
of the day, in my value, that's what's important.
But everything that you're talking about is based on what you do. It's not given to you.
Okay.
You're,
So
you
your list is blank, Mark.
I know it. That's the point. You're not really entitled to anything because what you're entitled to is based on what you do for for the work that you provide.
Right.
So my point on this is when you come into the world, you got to have to be taught responsibility. You have to be taught all the things that allow you to get what you do based on what you provide to people or whatever you do. So there's no entitlement where you're entitled to food and shelter and all that. Now, as a baby, you are because you can't fend for yourself. But once you get to be an adult, you're not entitled to government giving you $150,000. Here's the perfect example. When Katrina hit, and I was down here, Katrina hit. And so there were a lot of people that didn't have insurance. But guess what the government did? They gave people $150,000 so they could recover. It wasn't a loan, it was a grant. But what about all the people that had insurance? They weren't entitled to that money because they had insurance. So what happens is you're feeding somebody to be able to get handouts based on based on doing nothing. And I think you get my point. Let me move on from here. So what I want the government to do is to provide me the infrastructure, the security, the roads, everything that I need to do to be successful. That's what the government should do. They shouldn't give out handouts to people. Now, I want to support people, and I think they should give handouts in a certain way, but only to the point where, okay, I've given you an opportunity. If you choose not to seize that opportunity, you're on your own. I can't help you anymore. And that, we perpetuate this with food stamps and all these other kind of things. I don't want to get too deep involved in this, but I think government is not looking at the best interests of getting people to be accountable for what they do. All right, special interest groups. This was designed to give marginalized groups that don't have a voice, like women's right to vote, the civil rights movement. But there was a big mistake that the Supreme Court did that caused a huge problem, and that problem was you and I as individuals can only give so much to a political group or to support a politician. That's like $5,000. But the Supreme Court allowed citizens to be able to create these political action committees where they can give as much money to a political candidate because of what the Supreme Court said. So as a politician, if I'm getting $1 billion from somebody, don't you think that I might have somewhat of an allegiance to that politician if I help him get elected? So what happens is the special interest groups have gone too far and have gained too much power in today's world to be able to not accommodate everybody, but just a small niche. And you can see this over and over and over again. So I think the political interest groups, especially political, have gone too far and they've gotten too much power. The legal system, this really happened to me. We've become a very big litigious society. Mm-hmm. Millions are awarded for frivolous things. Insurance companies don't fight, and it actually happened to me. I was driving down the road and I came to a T intersection, and there was a small white truck in front of me with a bunch of stuff in the back. And that truck, when the light turned green, he had to go either left or right. So he turned green, and he starts blowing up. We're going up a small hill. He starts pulling up. I look to the left to make sure no car's coming. He stops in the middle of the intersection and I tap the guy. I couldn't have been going 3 miles an hour. Well, I get out of my car and I go look, say, look, I really, sorry, I tapped you. You stopped in the middle of the intersection. I was looking for cars. And you know what he does? He goes, oh, my neck really hurts. And I'm going, okay. So why don't you pull over to the side? And he says, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm calling the cops. All right. She calls the cops. Next thing I know, I hear this blaring engine, blaring sound coming down, and it's a fire truck. And a fire truck comes up to me, and I go, what are you guys doing here? And he goes, well, we just got a call. There was a major accident here, and we got deployed out to see what was going on. I said, okay. And then the police finally shows up. So the police finally shows up and says, look, I'm really sorry. The guy stopped in the middle of the intersection. I looked to the left. I tapped the guy. I'm sorry. And he goes, I said, am I going to get a ticket for this? He goes, just a minute, sir. Whoa. He was upset. And he goes, this happens all the time. So he goes to the guy who's in the middle of the intersection and he goes, gets him out of his car and the traffic's backing up. He gets out of his car and says, tell me where the damage is in the back of your truck. And he goes, one there, there's one there, it's right there. He says, which one is it? It can't just be one thing or multiple things. And the guy got a little bit flustered and he's finally got him to pull to the side. So what happened was the policeman was generous. He didn't give me a ticket. So I get a call 2 days later from their insurance company. He had gone to the hospital and got a call and they said, well, they're filing suit against you. I said, okay, well, I only tapped the guy. That's not right. We need to do something about it. Well, guess what? They settled. You know what they settled for? Take a guess. Anybody have a guess?
No idea. It was a lot, I'm sure. Go ahead.
$30,000.
Wow.
And I'm going to the insurance company. Why don't you fight this? Because no damage. He didn't have there was two people in the car. And I go, well, it's just, from a litigious standpoint, it wasn't advantageous to do it. So this is the problem with the legal system. That's why our insurance rates are going up, especially in the auto industry, but other areas. So everyone here has won the lottery 10 times over. Well, Steve asked that question. The right answer is the odds of you being born is 1 in 400 trillion. Now, how did he come up with that number? Well, scientific studies have to go all the way back, and you got to have all the right things in place, going all the way back. 1 in 400 trillion. You've all won the lottery. The legal system, some people now win the lottery. But it's something that you should be really grateful for. Because being born in 1 in 400 trillion that scientists went all the way back and is amazing that we're here. So my point is, I'm 1 in 400 trillion. I'm going to make something and do something about it. My wife's a teacher. She teaches first grade. I told her there's a lack of a formalized character education system today. And she goes, no, there isn't. I said, yes, there is, because the kids aren't getting it. They're not getting the character education that I think is really necessary at an early age. And they do it maybe when their character's already been formed when they're 13 or 14 years old. And both parents, since they're working outside the home, are not getting the kind of quality character things that I used to get when I was growing up, because my mom was home, my dad went to work. She was there to take care of us. Now the families are single family homes, less time at home with the kids because both parents are working. They come home, kids are on the computer, and there's just less interaction. Of course, then the video games actually teach the opposite. Religion and beliefs. We can't practice religion anymore because it's viewed as offensive. Now, if I'm praying, I'm not directing it at anybody. It's a problem that people sit down and pray. As you can see Tim Tebow, after he scored a touchdown, he kneeled down and prayed. Guess what happened? People got offended by that, but it wasn't directed at you. He was internalizing something that made him feel good. And that's the problem. Religion seems to be more like directed at people, and that's not the way it is. They're not forcing religion. If you look at the city of court of Slido, this happened. There was a plaque that's up on the wall. It's saying, "God we trust." Someone looked at that plaque and said, that offends me. And they went to the AFL-CIO or one of those organs. That's what is it? ACLU,
Mhm.
and said, "Hey, that needs to come down." It's been up there 30 years. It wasn't directed to anybody, but someone looked at it and said, "Well, we got to take it down." And guess what happened? They
Yeah.
had to take it down
Yeah.
because it was viewed as offensive. And that's the society that we have today. Is just because someone is maybe offended, don't look at it. So if I were going to take a Bible and force it into you, force the Bible on you, that would be a little bit different, and that would be something that would be offensive. Family values. I'm sure a lot of you have seen these shows, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The younger generation has never heard of these shows. Lassie, you got the Brady Bunch, you got Leave It to Beaver. These were shows that actually taught lessons, moral lessons, good shows. You don't see that anymore. And that's the problem. So the morals and respect that was on TV is no longer there. It's waning. People watching TV, they see things like Here Come the Kardashians or Naked and Afraid or what all these kind of shows that are sensual in a way that gets people to look at the shows and they go like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. And therefore they watch it. My favorite show when I was growing up was Flipper. It's a dolphin. You know why I like Flipper so much? Flipper was always smiling. He was always doing good things for people. And it was just a fun show and a message that got across. Now, this is something that men still do. Can anybody tell me what some men still do this, not everybody. Can
You
anybody
mean
tell me what they see here?
you mean hold the door for ladies? You mean
They're,
chivalry?
they're opening the door for ladies. You don't see that hardly anymore. What's
Really?
fun, it's almost like it's embarrassing to do that.
Wow.
But what I thought was really unusual was this. There was a lady coming down the street, and I stopped to hold the door for him. And she goes, I could do that. I go, I know you can. I was just trying to be nice. So these people like say like they're trying to be independent and they don't appreciate that. She never even said thank you for opening the door for her. She just went on her way. And this is just a sign of respect and gratitude that people don't have as much as they used to. This is kind of a sensitive subject. It's has to do with wealth, the rich and the wealthy and the poor, and there's always exceptions and everything. But here's the situation that happened to me. I ran the Louisiana Technology Council for several years. We had the founder of Monster come in as a keynote speaker. Now, as a nonprofit organization, I couldn't afford his fee of $25,000, and we never paid for speakers. But this guy was entrepreneurial. He was part of a technology company, and we wanted to bring him in, and he agreed to do it for $5,000. He was coming in from Boston. I said, fine. You got to pay all my expenses. I said, fine. So he wanted to go first class. I said, okay. And then instead of just looking at the different values of first class, he went to his airline that he always flies with, and it was like $1,500 first class. And he wanted to bring his girlfriend in with him. And I said, well, I can't pay for that. And he said, well, why not? I said, well, we're a nonprofit. We're trying to cut down expenses. When I went to Southwest Airlines, I could have gotten a first class ticket for $800. But he didn't think that way. He didn't think that here's a nonprofit. They're doing some good things for the area. I'm going to help him out. He was engaged in the fact that he didn't think about what effect the cost would be on a nonprofit who's trying to grow the technology industry in Louisiana. And that wasn't his thinking. His thinking was, I'm just going to get there. I don't care about anything else. And then the poor feels entitled or oppressed. I told you about the 150,000, and they think that was awarded to poor people who couldn't afford insurance. They generally think that the government should take care of them. Look, there are exceptions to every rule. I'm not saying that they're not. This is just an important part of what I think needs to be understood within society and needs to be addressed. Technology is a huge problem. I grew up in technology. I worked for IBM for several years. Technology has been a great way to increase people's productivity. But with the advent of the internet, the conversations today are less about quality, but more about quantity. And that's the big problem with today's society. We don't interact with people face to face like we did several years ago because we didn't have that communication medium like we have with the internet today or with cell phones. Instant communication has been great because now I can communicate with grandkids, or that I couldn't do that together other than making a phone call. And of course, a lot of information that gets on social media is not always true, and there's fake news. So technology has been able to increase the quantity of communication, but it's decreased in the quality. And here we've become more disconnected personally than ever before in history. And it's had a huge effect on corporate culture and in communication. We are terrible individuals when it comes to communicating because we get defensive at it. And there's ways that you can really increase the communication. So we had talked a little bit about TV, Naked and Afraid. Remember that show, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo? I don't know if anybody saw that show, but that show was amazing. And I watched it because looked at this and said, are you serious? This is really happening in today's society. And everybody gloated about it and they got great reviews on it, but it was not an indication of how we should live. Of course, cursing is evident today. It's even in executive offices. But the problem with all this stuff, it's being accepted. We don't push back on media and saying, this isn't right. This doesn't teach a good message. Get your shine on, get lucky in the music and what they say and what they swearing. And of course, the celebrities, they don't do a very good job of teaching characters going forward either. Violence has increased. Now, the good thing about it is violence crime is actually coming down, but the aspect of people being killed because of violent crime has actually gone up. And it's being desensitized. We accept all these things like, we instead of abhorring these things, like, we got to fix this. How do we do this? And the shootings. And I'll tell you a story. You see that guy in the middle there, Will Smith, the famous New Orleans Saints football player. He got in a provocation with this guy, Cardell Hayes. They went back and forth. It escalated. It got provoking. Their egos got in the way. Next thing I know, they're out middle of the night. Will Smith is with his wife and 2 kids. Cardell Hayes behind him. He hits them, taps him, maybe going 20 miles an hour. Will Smith gets out of the car. Cardell Hayes gets out of the car, starts to come after Will Smith. Cardell pulls out a gun and shoots him and kills him. That should have never happened. Each one of these individuals had to prove that they were better, and their ego got in their way instead of saying, let's sit down and talk about this. So I asked this question. In anything and everything that you do, what is the upside to what I'm about to do? And if there's no upside, don't do it. Ask yourself that question. If there's an upside to it, but most you'll find out that anytime you ask that question, what's the upside about what I'm going to do? And if there's no upside in your mind, you need to do and make that decision. So I ask everybody, what's your purpose in life? Why were you born? Why did God put you on this earth? Most people cannot answer these questions. But one person can, and it's this guy, Steve Gleason. He is a real hero. Steve Gleason was a famous New Orleans football player, had a great life. He was a special teams standout. And what happened was he got ALS. That was about 12 years ago. He found out, but based on his ALS diagnosis, that he knew what his purpose in life was. And that was to help other people with ALS live a better quality of life through technology. He's been having ALS for 12 years. He got a Congressional Medal of Honor and won an ESPY award at ESPN. He's a good friend. He said he's not confined by his wheelchair. He's liberated by it.
Wow.
He wrote my opening foreword to Give a Damn because he wants to give back. So everything of what I do, because he wrote the foreword, I'll tell you a little bit about how I give back to his foundation too. So my answer is to why God put me on this earth. And here it is. He put me on this earth to serve others. By serving others, I serve myself. But many people get the opposite. They think the opposite. And that opposite is, what's in it for me? So instead of thinking about what you do for people, they go, okay, I'm going to do something and I'm going to get something in return. The best people can say, I'm going to do something I know one day I might get something in return, but it's not my driving force. Because if I can help other people, I'm not going to help myself because it's just going to come back to you. The karma, it happens. So the three issues why people in the give a damn scenario. Some people are just so ego driven, they don't care. They'll walk on anybody, they'll buy the best things. It's everything is centered around them. And there are other people that just go about doing their life and they do these things, they're just not aware of the effect that they have on other people's lives. They're just not aware. They do it and they're just not aware. Or the people that are aware of all these things that are going on, but they don't know what to do about it. And those are the three scenarios of people when it comes to give a damn. So when do people actually give a damn instinctively? Here's the point. Let's say that this old man was your grandfather and you saw him in the middle of the road. What would you do? You get out of your car immediately and go to their support because now you can internalize something that affects you. It's internal to what I call a human domain. And therefore you do something about it. Here's another scenario. I was walking across the street and there was a rusty nail in the middle of the street. Most people would not pick it up, but I picked it up because I had this philosophy. The philosophy is, what happens if a mother came down with her child and they picked up this rusty nail on their tire and they went down a highway and had a blowout? I didn't want that to happen to anybody. So I picked up the rusty nail. But if the rusty nail was in the middle of your driveway, instinctively, what would you do? You would pick it up. Why? Because you don't want that rusty nail to be in your tire versus somebody else's tire. Another example, people, well, let me go on. I'll go forward because I know we're running out. So how can we learn to give a damn? Well, take responsibility. It's really, awareness is critical. People have the hardest time admitting when they make a mistake. They try to justify, well, this happened to me and I could have done this. Instead of saying, I take full responsibility. I'm not going to offer an excuse. Understand, accept it. Accept the consequences. People don't like to accept consequences when you make a mistake or you do something wrong. It just feels bad. And so you have your defensive mechanism that tries to get around that. Do the right thing always. We have to stop justifying our actions when we know right from wrong. Because we all know people do the wrong thing because they can justify it in their mind as being right. Here's an example. Going down the middle of the highway, your car window's open, you just finished having lunch, you throw the paper bag out the window in the highway. The justification would be, oh, well, there are people in prison and they have people that are going to clean up it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you were having lunch and you were in your living room and you'd finished it, would you throw that bag in the middle of your living room and leave it there? No, you throw it in the garbage can because now it internally affects you and you don't want that to happen. You don't want to have a dirty place. Again, that's instinctively. We got to think outside, externally, of what effect it have and make sure we do the right thing. So here's the key question. What I'm about to do, would I do it to myself? If what I'm about to do, would I do it to myself? And there's another question you can ask too. Do you want to serve others as you want to be served? That's the question is, would I want that same thing to be done to me? And you're going to get an answer. Just don't take that answer and throw it out the window. Listen to what that answer is and act accordingly. So I have another quick question. What would you do if you knew your mom was always watching you? What would you do? Or a mentor, or your dad, or somebody you really look up to. What would you do? You'd probably do things a little bit differently. You can't hide because they're always on your shoulder doing it. That's kind of an important question. So what is the greatest disease in America? I know how it gets fixed. And you all answered that. And the greatest disease in America is stress. This is Mark Lewis talking. And the reason why I say it's stress is because stress leads to human ailments. The more stress you have, the more your body kind of shuts down. It fights. And it fights, and your immune system gets less and less, and you can't fight disease as much. So if you have like high blood pressure, whatever, a lot of those are all caused by stress. Think about it. When you have abundance of stress, people get sick. Might get cancer, they might get heart disease. We got to find a way, and I know how to fix stress. I really do. And it's basically on this philosophy that I've come up with. So give a damn in business. It's a societal shift. We need to look. I do this for a living. I coach people how to think and how to act. I consult with people. Let's write the book. I'm trying to get this book out. So I'm trying to change other people's thought process. And it's very difficult. When you do this, the result is people are happy. You have better relationships. You have less turnover. You have big time success. People are happy. You're creating a new business culture. People are less stressful because you're working together. Now it's just not one factor, but it's a theme that gets engaged into the corporate culture. So let me back up. You can't please everybody. People need goals, and you want to help them towards those goals. And then people ask me, what gives you the authority that you can do all this? I said, well, when I ran the Louisiana Technology Council starting in 2012, Louisiana was 49th out of 50 states in technology, and we have nowhere to go but up, right? So I created a theme. It's called Louisiana Tech Capital of the South. And everybody like, well, you're crazy. Louisiana is known for oil and gas and tourism. Technology has nothing to do with Louisiana. I said, I know, but it's an industry that needs to grow within this state. So for 10 years, we did all these initiatives, and we went from 49th to 32nd in tech employment. Now, was it all because of me? No, it's because a lot of people participated and did all this. I give credit to everybody else. Today, technology in Louisiana is thriving, and I'm part of it, but in a different way. So what gives me the authority? I've done this. I've made an impact, and I want to continue to make it. And who doesn't think that we need who doesn't think our society is polarized and divided? My whole goal was to really create a technology industry. And I went to the board and I said, I want to go from 32nd to first, and I want to create Louisiana Tech Capital of the USA. You know what they told me? I don't know. That doesn't sound good. So I left. I couldn't do it anymore. So here's how I've come up with a personal success graph. I got 5 minutes, right, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got a personal success graph. The more you have a positive attitude and the more you give it in, you're going to have lots of success. So what words or phrases are needed more than ever before? And I'm not going to ask, I'm just going to go through it. Think in your mind, what do we need more than ever that we don't see much in today's society? Please, thank you, excuse me, and you're welcome. Mind your manners. You don't see this kind of thing. People up in the door, they don't say thank you. They don't say please. So why do these words, what do they represent? Really, gratitude. There's three key ingredients. Gratitude is such a lost art in today's society. It's like the other day, I was in my gym, right? And they have people working behind the gym, behind the counter. I went up to them and said, you guys do a really good job because this place is really clean. It's a fun place to come work out to it. And I really appreciate what you're doing to help my workout experience be better than any other place that I've been to. Man, they smiled and looked at me and they go, wow, who would ever say that? If you can provide gratitude and thankfulness and an act of kindness, no matter how small, it's never wasted. It's such a good thing. I love gratitude. So good manners will open doors. Mind your manners. I tell you what, it's the best education when you have good manners. Kindness. There's studies that have been that have come out on kindness and caring. They release neurotransmitters and hormones. It makes your body feel good when you're kind, when you volunteer. Did you know that people who are more religious, Ohio State study did this? People who are more religious actually live 4 years longer than those people that don't. You know why? Because they have something that can grab onto it. It gives a kindness, a relief that somebody or something is helping them and they can relate to it. We don't have that too much more. So I have a couple fun techniques for teamwork, collaboration exercises. I developed this thing called, it's a unique hiring process to hire for culture. If you think about this, anytime you hire someone, you hire for culture and you train for skill. Think about this. I've created a very unique interview technique that I use as a teamwork building exercises. And I give everybody a notepad and I say, okay, I want you to answer these 30 questions. And I go, favorite movie, favorite color. If you won $100 million in lottery, what would you do with it? Um, Best friend, favorite sports team. And everybody sits down, writes those answers down. Then you go around the room and you learn about people that you would never, even in your family. This is a family exercise during Christmas. You learn things about your family. Never do these three things. I typically ask this question. What are the three C's you never should do? Criticize, condemn, and complain. The team exercise, sit down with your team and ask them to review your core values. If you have no core values, create and establish a core values that everybody engages on and would relate to it. And then I say, be a dog. And I'll go through this when I get down to the end here. Another start-stop routine that you can do. You want to be positive, look good for the good for look and look for the good. When someone asks me, Steve, when you ask me how you doing, what I say? Terrific.
Terrific. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I did that because it puts a smile on everybody's face. And I want to put smiles on people's face because I know it's good for them. Moments of truth. Everything you do should be a moment of truth. You can either make it positive or negative. And you want to create a positive moment of truth. Develop a theme. The good thing about Give a Damn is you develop a theme that people could rally around. And they rally around, everybody engages in something they can contribute to. And of course, I do daily huddle calls where you get everybody together for 5 minutes and they go, what are we doing? What do we have problems on? What do we need to be doing differently, et cetera, et cetera. Start-stop routine is what do we need to start doing today that we're not doing? What do we need to stop doing that we're doing? What do we need to keep doing that we do really well? So transparency. I am very transparent with my employees when I ran a corporation. I want them to be part of everything, whether it's good or negative. And I have this thing, my wife does this all the time. She makes all these assumptions. I call it a suicide because most of the time when you make assumptions, they're not right. She assumes this, and you can't assume stuff unless you have the facts. So what factor or factors leads to better health? You answered those, all the above. And why is Give a Damn so important? Because it creates success. It creates a meaningful life. It creates purpose. It creates health, well-being. It's so significant that you give a damn and everything I've talked about works. So I'm building these blocks to rally around. It's in your psyche. We just need to bring it out, be truthful to yourself and others, have an effect on people's lives. It makes a difference in their life. And now change is tough. Sometimes I forget. So I have these wristbands that I wear. It's this right here. It's a reminder. It's the reminder to continue to give a damn and not get it out of your psyche because challenge to change a character is very difficult. So people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And you can make a true impact on business society when your servant attitude is bigger than your ego because individually you make a difference. Collectively, together, we change the world. Be a dog. We talked about this. Be a dog means, and my sister said this, let me be the person my dog thinks I am. A dog's loving, comes through the door, you come through the door, they're always wagging their tail, they're always so great to see you, they never talk back. All the things that a dog provides to you in life are beautiful. And so you want to be a dog. And that's why I say be a dog. I have accountability pledge. You can go take a look at this. I give, if you're interested in the book, I'll sign it, send it to you. I give 20% whatever I do to Steve Gleason and his campaign. And here's what my whole point is. And I normally take a little bit more time than this, but I'm going through really fast because it's 12 or 1 o'clock your time. It's the fix in creating an abundant corporate culture. Thinking, feeling, and acting, and I transform people's lives. That's the whole basis behind everything that I'm doing. And they say people who are crazy enough to change the world are usually the ones who do. And that's me. And that's what I'm trying to do, change that world.
So Gary has a quick question. He's asking, can you please call his sister and explain these items to her? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
real quick,
go ahead, Gary.
I see that we all pretty much are still here, voted for Mr. T, good or bad.
Sure.
My sister blamed me for that in 2016. Didn't talk to me for 5 years. Called me on my birthday yesterday. Wished me happy birthday. then proceeded to ask me if I was 65 and I could take Medicare. I'm like, no, not yet, thank God. Well, she said, well, that's a shame because by the time you get there, Trump's going to take it away from you anyway, along with everything else. I'm like, okay, have a nice day. Click, goodbye.
That's a suicide. That's a suicide.
That's
Make an assumption that
ridiculous.
have no justification basis for that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Think about the word suicide. When anybody makes an assumption like that, it's just it's suicidal to them. It's just not smart. We don't know.
I know.
And look,
I even asked her, I said, how much does Medicare cost? She says, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's free. I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah, I'm on Medicare. That's not free.
I'm like,
I pay for it.
no,
Yeah, me too.
no.
Yep.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
well,
this. This
look,
is good. If you have
So
a podcast, put it in the window.
you asked a question. Do I have a podcast? I don't right now. I have a YouTube channel. I do a lot of things from that.
Okay.
But I'm going to present, and I've been asked many, many times, you should do a podcast. I'm going to start that, but it's probably going to be 4 to 6 months because I'm working on a new startup that's taking a lot of my time too. But this is a passion for me. I go around speaking engagements on this to help change corporate lives for the better. And if some people say, well, can you come and help implement a few of these ideas? Absolutely. And it's made a world of difference, especially when hiring somebody, especially when building team camaraderie and engagement and funness and all that kind of stuff.
It doesn't take anything to be nice to somebody. It takes a lot more to be mean to somebody.
Yeah, you're right, Gary.
Well, people don't look at it that way because they don't think. They don't think about what their actions are having on people. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But people don't think that way. They think,
No,
no, they don't think about what they're saying and how they're communicating to people. And it's a problem.
it is a problem. I agree with that. Well, have a great Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yes.
Thanks, Gary.
Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody for staying on.
Sorry.
Send us
took
that
so
link,
long.
Steve. If you get a link from them, send it over to us. That'd be great.
Yeah,
What's that?
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, your YouTube link. Or we can
Okay,
link
yeah,
on
I'll send it
YouTube,
to you,
right?
Steve. If you want
Well,
to
because
send it
there's
out to
another Mark
everybody.
Lewis that has similar, it's still a little bit different, but similar. So yeah. Yeah, if you can send us your YouTube link, that would be great, Mark. Okay.
This
And
is the
thanks
one that looks
everybody
like Bill Gates.
And thanks everybody and happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
Here.
Blessings.
Very
Happy
great
holidays, everybody.
presentation.
Thanks
Thank you.
everybody.
Blessings. See you later.
Thanks. Take care now.